After my confrontation with Escobar, I returned to the inn with a heart as heavy as the storm clouds still lingering over the horizon. Capitu was waiting for me, seated by the window with a distant look in her eyes. She turned when I entered, her face a mask of concern and exhaustion. "Where have you been?" she asked softly. "To see him," I replied, not bothering to clarify further. Her expression darkened. "Bento, what are you doing to us? To yourself?" I couldn't answer. I didn't know anymore. The lines between truth and paranoia had blurred so completely that I couldn't distinguish one from the other. That evening, I sat alone on the veranda, watching the waves crash against the shore. My thoughts were a tempest, swirling with doubts and questions. Had Escobar been telling the truth? Had I allowed my jealousy to distort reality? Or was I blind to the betrayal happening right before my eyes? Capitu joined me after some time, her presence a quiet comfort despite the tension between us. "Bento," she said, breaking the silence. "I can't keep living like this. Neither of us can. If you can't trust me, then what's the point of us being together?" Her words cut deep, but I couldn't deny their truth. Trust was the foundation of any relationship, and ours was crumbling beneath the weight of my suspicions. The following day, I decided to confront the situation from a different angle. If I couldn't find answers in the present, perhaps I could find them in the past. I began revisiting old letters and journals, searching for clues that might confirm or dispel my fears. Among the letters, I found one that Escobar had written to me years ago. It was a simple note, thanking me for a favor and expressing his admiration for my friendship. But as I read it, I couldn't help but wonder, was there something hidden between the lines? Some subtle indication of his feelings for Capitu? I scrutinized every word, every phrase, but found nothing definitive. The letter, like so much else in my life, was open to interpretation. Days turned into weeks, and our trip stretched on longer than planned. Capitu grew more withdrawn, her patience wearing thin. Our son, who had joined us after a time, seemed oblivious to the tension, his laughter a rare bright spot in the darkness that surrounded us. But even his presence was a source of pain for me. Every time I looked at him, I saw Escobar's face staring back at me. One night, I found myself alone with my son. He was playing with a set of wooden blocks, his face alight with concentration. "Papa," he said suddenly, looking up at me, "why are you sad?" The simplicity of his question caught me off guard. "I'm not sad," I lied. "Yes, you are," he insisted. "You don't smile anymore." I didn't know how to respond. How could I explain to a child the turmoil that consumed me? How could I tell him that the source of my sadness was the very question of his existence? As the days passed, I realized that I couldn't go on like this. My obsession was destroying not only my marriage, but also my relationship with my son. I had to make a choice: to let go of my doubts and rebuild my life, or to continue down this path of self-destruction. One evening, as the sun set over the ocean, I made my decision. I turned to Capitu, who was sitting beside me, and said, "I'm sorry." She looked at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and caution. "For what?" "For everything," I said. "For doubting you, for hurting you, for letting my jealousy consume me." Her expression softened, but she didn't speak. "I want to try," I continued, "to trust you, to trust us, but I need your help." She nodded, her eyes glistening with tears. "We'll get through this, Bento," she said, "together. Forgiveness is a journey, not a destination." In the final chapter of this tale, I'll recount the steps we took to rebuild our lives and the secrets that refused to remain buried. Don't miss it.